Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another broadcast of Northwest Georgia Cryptics. Joining me tonight is my co-host, Mr. Blake Duckworth, our very special guest, Mr. Barry Robertson from Prayen and Squtchen, and our special guest tonight is Mr. Richard Rensberry. Richard is the author of The Awakening and also Conversations with Sasquatch. Uh, I'm going to go ahead and let Blake open the show up, and then we'll bring Richard on.
As always, guys, I hope everyone's doing well. If you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button, bell notification, like, and comment. If you're not subscribed to Barry's channel, go subscribe to Prayen and Squtchen. Show him some love as well. And you can go ahead and bring him on, Ricky.
All right. Richard, good evening, buddy, and welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. It's good to be here. I have watched a little bit of your work, but I have not. I have to confess, I haven't watched a lot. So I watched the last episode somewhat with your guest and enjoyed it. So I'm happy to be here.
All right, thank you, man.
Good to have you, Richard.
Okay, and like he said, I am the author. I have an online continuing novel that I'm writing. It's called The Awakening. It's on my website, conversationswithsasquatch.com, where I every week add a new episode to the story. The last couple weeks has been a little difficult, different experiences and things, so they were very short and they were poems rather than a continuation of the story. But they do fit into the story. So, and anyone can read the whole book on my website. It's posted continuously as it goes along. And
now, I've got a quick question, Richard,
Sure.
not to cut you off there. So what inspired you to start writing about Sasquatch?
I have had Sasquatch experiences. It began as in childhood. When I was about 7 years old, I had my first encounter with a Sasquatch while I was fishing, and they seem to spend a lot of time by the water. I think many fishermen have probably encountered them to some degree. So that was my interest. I lost that interest when I moved to the city. I lived in the city for many years, and then I moved back to the country, and it has been going on ever since now. Since I live in an area where there's a lot of wilderness, a lot of state property, a lot of federal property.
Where are you from exactly?
Northern Michigan.
Okay.
There used to be a big, I just recently found this out. I didn't even know it while I was gone. They used to have a huge Bigfoot festival here in Cummins, Michigan, because it's a very active area. It's the most active area supposedly in Michigan. And I happen to live here, so that's my experiences, and the experiences started happening, and then I started writing the books, and of course, it's been quite the trip. It's been a lot more than I would have ever expected.
Well, I mean, if you want to share that journey, you're more than happy to. I mean, anything you want to talk about, Richard.
Well, my experiences with Sasquatch or Bigfoot, whatever you want, and called by other names, have all been benevolent. They are our friends. They are not what I see portrayed in a lot of different sites about, these apes that are somewhat aggressive and all that. I know there are some that way, but I think it's caused by the people that are intentioned differently than I am. My intentions are not at all to take pictures of them or expose them as real. They're real as real can be, and I think anybody would know that if they just accepted the reality of it, because they've been around for eons. You know, they appeared to the Indians long before we were here, and there's many stories on that. And the shamans actually went to them and got knowledge and stuff and brought it back to the people. And that's what's happened with me. You know, I mean, if you want to call it, it goes by different names again, mind speak or transference, whatever. I actually have a stone here, and I'll show it to you if you can see this stone. Here, given to me by the Sasquatch. I'm having a hard time getting it in the picture here.
Oh yeah, I see it there.
Where it has an area where it's been worn out by a thumb, and there's also finger areas on the stone where it's been fingered for a long time. And you have to believe in something when you hold the stone, you know, that there are pictures and there is stuff associated with this stone that you can receive from the Sasquatch. And that is the case. And I believe in it fully. So many of my experiences are coming through that kind of transference. And they do leave messages. You know, I've gotten many other stones. I mean, the Sasquatch have a very high affinity for stones, even if they're throwing them at you. You know, I've known people that have had experiences where they get stones thrown at them. Well, I get stones gifted to me. I don't get them thrown at me. How would you like a stone like this? Let me pick this one up. It's perfectly round. Oh, I'm not used to a camera like this. It's perfectly. How would you like a stone like that thrown at you at 180 miles an hour, which they're capable of doing? The Sasquatch move at very high speeds, and they are different than a human being physically if they want to be. I wouldn't want to be hit by a stone like that, so I wouldn't want to antagonize them. So I don't have any intentions of antagonizing them. So
Richard Blake actually does paranormal, and I mean his group with that we're doing paranormal, and we were at a cemetery back in 2011 down at Bartow County, Georgia, and we actually had rocks thrown at us from about 60 yards. Tree line. We were in a cemetery. Tree line was about 60 yards away. And we actually had rocks the size of a basketball thrown through the treetops in next to a grave where we were standing. And we weren't down there trying to bother anything, you know, other than just doing our paranormal research.
Now, with that being, hang on, Ricky. With that being said, it wasn't malicious intent, I do believe. I mean, if they wanted to hit us with the rocks, of course, they would have been able to hit us.
I believe so, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I think it was more of a, hey, we're here, you know, kind of back out type situation, you know, don't necessarily want us in the area. Sorry, Ricky, didn't mean to interrupt you there.
Oh, no, not at all. But these rocks were actually thrown at us, and they came through the treetops and landed, I don't know, 4 or 5 foot over from where we were standing. And, you know, this was a major encounter. My first encounter was back in 1981. I actually saw one. You were talking about them staying near water. I actually saw one while float fishing.
And the story that he was just talking about, also that's next to a lake.
You're right. Yeah. So yeah, we we've had some a few major encounters with them, but nothing, as you say, nothing. Everything that we've had thus far with Sasquatch has been, I guess you'd say, mundane encounters. Uh, we've had no really where you'd actually say a lot of people in this area talk about them coming in and raiding their camps, tearing their tents down.
Yeah, I've never experienced that, so I can't vouch for any of that. Have I had an aggressive encounter? I have, but I know the reason for that, and I know now the purpose of it. I guess you could say that. I was encroaching on a space I shouldn't have encroached on.
Right.
But, again, and there are Sasquatch which are exiled or live in our world and can't get back into their own world, and they're kind of pissed off.
Well, and I think a lot of times when somebody has a, quote unquote aggressive encounter, I mean, you got to think, are they're, think of us. We have bad days. Okay. 2, are they juvenile in the area? That's one of my biggest arguments when somebody has a aggressive encounter, unless it's provoked, like you were saying a little bit ago. But just about every creature, being, whatever, living, breathing animal, when they are a young, and you get between that young and a mother or father, whatever, it's a natural instinct to be aggressive. So yeah, I think that could be a lot of the circumstances to some aggressive encounters. Even though you may not see the young, who's to say they're not one in the area.
Yeah, and that's even the case with humans. And I perceive them as being very sentient beings. They are not, like I say, I don't consider them apes. If they were apes, we would have them in zoos, and we would have plenty of pictures of them, and they wouldn't care. You have to be of higher.
Well, I mean, not getting into the paranormal aspect of Bigfoot, but they are capable of a lot of things that we're not.
Correct.
Whether if it's like, something we talk a lot about, something that we as humans possessed at some point in time, because, a lot of people have different views on the subject, but, there are definitely paranormal aspects to the creatures, or beings, as I like to call them.
That's where my books go. I am not dealing in as much the physical, but yet there's physical aspects of it.
Of course.
And they have delivered certain knowledge that
and I don't even know if it should be called paranormal. It's just things we don't understand, where we can't explain.
Yeah, I actually wrote, if you don't mind, I'll read it. I wrote something just the other day, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
No, go right ahead.
This is called the Bigfoot Bet. The world is full of skewed ideas. Skewed as in, not in a straight line. The world is full of skewed ideas, third eyes blind, false witnesses, and negative vibes from those who fear what they can't comprehend. It takes denial and a simple mind to conceive that Sasquatch is simply an ape. If Bigfoot were such, they'd populate our zoos. They'd leave their bones and scat to the Smithsonian, pose for photos, and care nothing of being videotaped. Bigfoot is not an ape. Bigfoot is an enigma. ancient as the stars, from dimensions unknown, shapeshifters that can create and uncreate physically with their minds. Sasquatch always finds you. You never find them. If you naysay, prove it. The Bigfoot bet is that you can't. And that's been my experience with them so far. That's the side of the fence I'm on, and I don't in any way make less of that for myself. I stand on what I say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, of course, there are living, breathing creature or being. I don't even like calling them creatures; they're beings. But they're just things that we, like you said, they're you don't have scientific explanations for.
No, not with our general science.
No, and most people in general think, and they do, and well, I'd say probably 60% of the people think that Sasquatch is just, as you said, just a dumb ape out here running around in the woods. Well, with the experiences I've had with them, they're far more than that.
Yes.
I got a little story that a guy told me a few years back that he used to go into a camping area up in Tennessee, and he said that he'd have to park and walk maybe a mile into the camping area, and always up there on Friday nights. He said along about 10, 11 o'clock on Friday nights, these rocks would start being thrown at his tent. Just pebbles, not big rocks.
Yeah.
Pebbles. And he said that he encountered this 3 or 4 weeks in a row. So he decided to go to Walmart and get a bucket full of tennis balls and took them back up there. And he said when they started throwing rocks that night, he started throwing these tennis balls into the woods. Well, he said you could actually hear these things running back and forth, chasing these tennis balls. Well, he said the wild thing about it was, Richard, when he got ready to go, when he got back to his car, every tennis ball that he had thrown was lined up across his car, across the hood of his car.
I love it.
Now, this is with other vehicles parked in the parking area where he was at, but these things had lined the balls up across his car. Now, you tell me, if they're just a dumb ape out here running around through the woods, how are they going to possess the mental intellect to be able to identify the car that he drove in there to where they could replace those tennis balls on it?
Yes. Yeah. Quite unexplainable in any other form.
I mean, that's the way I look at it.
Okay, very good. And the books, I mean, I can show you the first book. This is the first book, and this is about it has my childhood encounter in there, and then the progression up here to adulthood and how that all came about, the conversations with Sasquatch. And the second book, like I said, that's called Crossover, and that's the land. That's their universe, not ours. And that's about my visit there via, the rock without time, so to speak. And I also wrote a kid's book. It's just Sasquatch for young readers. And this is about a family.
Got a question, Richard. My son, how do I go about buying that book?
It's on Amazon.
On Amazon?
If you type my name into Amazon, all my books will come up.
My son's a Bigfoot fanatic. He's 6 years old. He would anything he can get his hands on. That would make him.
This is about the right age for him. Then it's very simple. I mean, it's not. It's just about a Sasquatch family. Because Sasquatch, if there's big Sasquatch, there's little Sasquatch.
There's little Sasquatch, yep.
Like you were talking about, and they're very protective of their youth. And you better be invited in before you're in that space. That's all I've got to say on that. You know, if you're not invited in, you're probably going to get kicked out one way or another.
Right. Barry, you're being awful quiet, buddy.
I'm just listening to. It's kind of outside my wheelhouse, the whole metaphysical, paranormal, or paranatural, whatever you want to call it.
Well,
I was going to ask the thing with the rocks where you said you could gain images or messages from the rocks. Is that like Blake, being a paranormal investigator, might know this. There's a psychic ability some people claim to have, or they can touch an object and read its past, or have no idea.
Uh-oh. Lost Mr. Barry.
Yeah, we lost him.
Yeah, he's having trouble with his. He told me he had trouble with his last night. His internet.
Man down.
We got him back there.
If you want me to answer that question,
I don't know how much Blake knows what I'm talking about.
Did you want to answer that, Blake?
Is the getting impressions and messages from the rocks like a psychic ability, or?
Yeah, almost. But I don't even know if that's even the same thing when it comes to the Bigfoot aspect. I mean, I don't like putting, when I say paranormal, I don't want to put them in the same paranormal realm as spirits and stuff like that. But I don't even know what you would exactly call it. I mean, it's just something that happens, and that's why I say, there are things about as far as Bigfoot that science just can't explain. They're not explanations for it. So then it does become paranormal, but that's just a word being used.
Yes.
Just because we don't understand.
And my book is
like
listed.
I said, I'd heard of that before. Some psychics being able to do whatever it's called, where they can hold an object and tell you its history and all that.
Yep. Well, and supposedly
that's kind of outside my wheelhouse.
That's an energy thing, things far as, that's the reason you have attachments to objects and stuff like that when it comes to the paranormal aspect of it, or, talking about actual, spirits or whatever. We lost him again.
Yeah.
You can go ahead, Richard.
Well, like objects, when they're touched by certain people or beings or whatever,
that energy is transferred.
Yes, there is a transference, or there could be, and then you can pick those up, but you have to, it's all about trust. If you don't trust your own ability to do so, you're going to negate whatever is there. You're not going to be able to accept it or believe in it or whatever. I just let it flow. I mean, that's how I trust it.
It's almost like a medium type of circumstance with you, I guess would be in a best way to explain it.
Yes, and I know when I'm getting it. It's not a mystery.
Well, and going back to I deal with a lot of them, and I've met a few. When I say I've all, the ones I have met, the ones that are actually truly have the abilities. But don't get me wrong, there are people in this world that can do things that make, that you can't explain. I've done like a couple 2 months ago, did a walkthrough with a medium at the hospital I work at, and there were just a couple things that she had no way of knowing that she was able to, I can't remember exactly what it was, but she shouldn't have known. They were no way for her knowing these things, and she got it right.
Yeah, I understand. So, that's the crux of where I'm going with it. I'm trying to raise the awareness as far as, who the Sasquatch are and what
I
they're
think my
doing.
connection's acting up, Ricky. You're the only one I've got a visual on right now.
Oh, is it? Yeah, I know you told me yours was messing up with you last night. All right, Richard, go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, I hear your friend.
Is that your mountain lions back there, Ricky?
I hear your friend back there. Can you introduce your friend? I love cats.
Oh, Lord. I've got a room full of them.
Cats are very special beings themselves.
Yes, they are.
Yes, they are. So anyway, if you're, anyone reading my books, that they're going to get the message that Sasquatch is, if you want to call it paranormal, or a being outside of our universe. That is the case. If they want to be present, they can be present. If they don't want to be present, you won't see them. Even if they're standing right next to you, you may feel the hairs standing up on your neck, but you're not going to see them. They can appear.
Well, I know as paranormal investigators, and I'm sure Barry can vouch for this too. There's times that I've been in the woods and be back 7-8 miles back in the mountains, and nobody's around, but you get this feeling that there's something with its eyes deadlocked on you.
Absolutely.
You know that there's something there watching you, watching every move that you make, but yet you can scan the woodland and don't see a thing. Yeah. I've had this happen to me many a times.
I got the hair standing up on my neck right now when you because I can bring that up myself.
I'm gonna say this about like the paranormal aspect, because I mean everybody has their opinions, and I know Barry's not real big into the paranormal aspect of Bigfoot. And myself, I'm a big believer when it comes to the paranormal aspect. Me personally, I've never had a paranormal. Well, I shouldn't. I've never had a true like paranormal experience when it comes to Bigfoot, like far as finding tracks that just disappeared, or just any of that stuff. I mean, but one of our team members, which is my mom's fiance, he has seen one close. He's ex-military. He's a genuine guy. Has no reason to lie.
Right.
And I mean, he has seen one fully, like what he describes as fully cloaked.
Sure.
And there's just so many stories. Like I can't discredit any of the paranormal stuff.
Okay, that's all anyone can ask. When you have, I mean, I don't. Discount anyone else's experiences, and I don't discount the physical aspect of it, because they can be physical. Absolutely, they can be just as visible and just as real as any other thing that's in existence. So everybody's experiences.
Oh, that's me. I respect other people's experience. Like I said, I wasn't there. It didn't happen to me. It happened to them. I
Yeah,
can't tell somebody else what they saw or heard, or
exactly.
You've just
I
never
won't try
personally
to.
had any of those experiences as far as the paranormal aspect.
Exactly. So far, everything I've experienced has been 98% solid, physical, flesh and blood creature.
I am
I mean,
curious.
what I caught glimpses of tearing through the woods that day, it was as solid as any of us because it left a trail of smashed down grass and broken off limbs and trampled vegetation. I mean, that's solid.
Yes.
When I hear a tree knock out in the woods, that's a solid creature picking up a solid stick and whacking a solid tree with it.
Yeah.
I've never.
Oh goodness, we lost him again.
Go
He's
ahead,
just like
Richard, what you're about to say.
he's just like the Sasquatch.
Then one
tell
minute,
me.
gone the next.
Yeah, he's hanging out with them too much, man.
Yeah, but Richard, yes, I mean, I definitely,
Y'all
I'll
can
sit
see me
back and
drop kick the internet in a second.
I'll look at both sides of it because they're definitely a
But
a
having
flesh
said
and blood
that,
being.
I agree that they're not just a dumb ape.
Yeah.
Like I said, having said all that, I agree they're not just a dumb ape. If there's exactly what he said, if there was just a dumb ape, y'all have heard me say it a dozen times, they'd be sitting in the zoo right next to the chimpanzees and gorillas.
Exactly, I agree. So we're dealing with something beyond. I have to say the physical. We're dealing with something that has sentient abilities beyond an animal.
Well, yes. I mean, the 100%.
Can anybody hear me at all?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Ricky.
Everything's froze on my end.
Uh-oh.
Ricky, you froze?
No, man, I'm still here with everybody.
Okay. But I mean, it's like I keep saying, it's just beyond our understanding. So much beyond our understanding of the origin of what they are, where they came from, why they're here, why are they able to do the things they're able to do.
Barry, can I ask you a question? Can he hear me or not?
Barry, Richard wants to know if he can ask you a question.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us, Barry?
If I can hear him.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
Everything's kind of distorted right now, but I'll try.
I was just curious if Barry was in the military and had any experience via that avenue, being in the military.
Barry, he wants to know if you've ever been in the military.
I attended boot camp and got a medical discharge right before graduation, Paris Island, South Carolina.
I see. Okay. So then you wouldn't have any military experience as far as the Bigfoot go.
Now, I mean, I've never been in the military, but the guy I was just speaking about, one of our team members, he's ex-military. And he was told some things. I don't think he ever had experiences in the military, but I mean, from what I understand, they actually give our military in like the North Georgia area field guides of what to do if you ever encounter a Bigfoot. That's just hearsay. Don't know how true it is, but that come from a good source. So
I see. Yeah, I've
don't know
heard
if that answer made it through or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
Barry, buddy, I'm sorry you're having such trouble with your internet service up there tonight.
Where does Barry live?
Kentucky.
Kentucky. Okay.
Yeah.
And give me his website or whatever again.
Okay, it's on YouTube. It's you can watch his videos. Prayen and Squtchen.
What is it again?
Praying.
Okay, everything's pretty clear right now.
Okay.
I'm trying to get your YouTube channel or website address.
Praying, just N, not N or and, just the letter N, Squtchen.
And just an N on the end of that too.
Could you all understand my answer about the military?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we got you.
Okay. I didn't know if it. So,
Yeah,
short answer, I attempted to be in the military.
I got you. Yeah, no, I was just looking for to see if you had any inside scoop from the military.
No, I was. That'd be way above any pay grade I ever made it to.
Understood, and I haven't either. You know.
Now,
So.
Richard, I will tell you well, I've had 2 encounters with the military while out, on an expedition or whatever you want to call it. First time was actually where Ricky was talking about earlier, the lake. That's actually where I had my personal sighting of a family. Me and my dad had been out in the cemetery that night, and their pavilion before you get back out to the parking lot where you park. And we had walked to the pavilion. We were just kind of sitting there talking, and a car pulls up. They were 4 guys. They get out. I've got a spotlight with me. I shine the spotlight on them. 3 of them were wearing civilian clothes. 1 of them was in full tack uniform. AR. He even had his AR with him. Why? Don't know. Comes up, introduced himself. Anyway, the guy was from National Security. Why he's down there, don't know. Sit there and talk to him for a minute, and he asked what we were doing, and I was honest with him. I was like, we're down here Bigfoot hunting, and straight face, hand on the Bible. This guy looks at me and says, pretty much in his own words, that they know they're down there. Why national? Like, I don't understand the national security part. Anyways, we talked to him for a little while. 1 of them ended up hearing something in the woods. Next thing I know, me and my dad are running through the woods with these 4 guys, chasing after something. Of course, we never found what we were looking for. It was just a really weird night. And the guy actually gave me his contact information. And I'm not a big supporter of BFRO anymore, but back in 2011, I supplemented my encounter to the BFRO. I talked to them quite a few times, and I actually gave them his number and he has a report in with mine of kind of some things he's had happen down there. But he spoke with the BFRO.
I see.
So I mean, he's pretty open. I mean, pretty open about the situation. I mean, of course, the BFRO, like, my story wasn't completely how it actually happened. They're bad about altering the stories and stuff, and
Okay.
kind of leaving some things out. So, I don't know what he exactly told them, because what he told me is not what he told them, but it makes me wonder if what he told them is actually what he told me, but they didn't write it the same way.
I see. Well, that's understandable. It's difficult sometimes because I'm a writer, and
well, they're bad about anything paranormal, anything they leave out. They'll completely change a story if it's not what they want to report.
I see.
Then back last year, we did an expedition over on Blue Ridge, and this wasn't like it. This is just another weird situation. So basically, the area we were in, we're 12.5 miles off the main road. You're in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Well, military actually uses this area for training. They have fields up there they use, and you know they do all their military training up in this area because I mean it's just a great environment to do it. I mean it's rough terrain, like it's a great place to do your training. Well, we had a couple team members that got there before us, and they had heard an Apache. Actually, the guy I was talking about that was in the military that's on our team. They had heard an Apache helicopter. Then they didn't hear it no more, and we get there, and well, they were doing training exercises with blank rounds, like you know, you just hear sound like war pretty much going on. We heard that for a little while. It stopped right before dark. We were back at camp. They were 3 or 4 Humvees come up the road from our left. They all went past us except one part to kind of where we could see it, and they come back to us after sitting there a minute. Guy comes up, introduces himself, lets us know that they're going to be doing some training in the area. They've got a team coming down the Appalachian Trail. They're doing an ambush training exercise. And you'll hear gunfire for about 15 minutes, then we'll be out of your hair. Cool. You know, didn't think anything about it. Well, then one of the guys from our team just kind of asked him what was the weirdest things that he'd ever seen up there, had happened to him up there. Of course, it was by the book answer, you know, bobcat, you know, mountain lion type situation. That's the only things he's ever seen up there. Then he asked about Bigfoot. And this is when it just got really weird. Like, so they went from being polite to wouldn't even look us in our eyes. Just really, really strange behavior. They were supposed to be gone within 20 minutes. They ended up camping 20 foot from us. They camped like right next to us.
Can you all hear me now?
Totally messed up our night of what we were going to do. We weren't able to get out and do no investigating, anything. Like they just completely hindered, stopped they put guys all the way around where we were at. There were about 20 people in the woods right around our whole camp where we were at. We got trail cam footage of them messing with our trail cams. Like just I don't know what their goal was. You know, I don't know if they were trying to keep us from doing what we were doing, or you know, I don't know. Well, and you know, typically you don't involve civilians like that. You know what I'm saying? You're doing training. Why, you know, unless you're told to do something different, you go by, you know, you have plans. And also those plans don't typically change when you're doing military training like that. Not for some reason they were told to stay there.
Well, I would say it's what you saw is what you got. You know, they were keeping an eye on you.
So, you know, that's my two experiences.
I'm surprised they didn't just escort you from the area and be done with it.
I don't know.
That was a wild
Honestly,
ordeal.
I mean,
I've actually got pictures on the computer here of Blake and them over there with their campsite set up. Blake had sent me pictures of that night, and Humvee right there,
and hit them in the head like they
right.
And they were rude. Like, I mean, like they weren't like they didn't want to just make us leave. Like I don't know what their intentions were, but they stayed up all night long. Of course, they kept their Humvee running right beside our tent. They're being loud. Like they didn't go to sleep until we got up. Okay. They were messing around with in our camp that night. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. I do know enough about the military that if you're not supposed to be somewhere, then you're not there. Like I said, you get escorted elsewhere.
It was not that we weren't supposed to.
Why in the world they would?
Public. I mean, it's public land. Like, I mean, we're in a public cemetery. So it's not like they could just ask us to leave. I mean, their plans were to do their training and be out of our hair. But what changed their plans from, you know, being there 20 minutes and leaving to all of a sudden camping with us?
Yeah, that was a whole strange thing about it.
Well, I'm thinking it's public land and all that, But there's no arguing with a fully equipped fire squad.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, yeah. What are you gonna do? I mean, well, actually, no, they weren't fully equipped. They're fully equipped with a bunch of blank rounds, but I'm sure somebody in there got some live rounds.
Yeah.
Like I said, just my brief experience with the military, I do know that when you're not supposed to be somewhere, I buzz people on it in movies all the time. They'll show kids breaking into a military base or something. I'm like, no, they get you shot in real life.
Oh yeah, very quickly.
Yeah.
The whole Storm Area 51, if they'd actually tried it, we'd have seen a lot of people get shot. I mean, you just, like I said, you can't, there's no arguing with an M16.
And you know, Brian, which is the one that
Now, I don't know if it's related or not, and Ricky probably saw my post on Facebook. I had a helicopter buzzing around here for 4 days. Last week, I contacted 2 law enforcement agencies and the local airport, and nobody could tell me who this helicopter was. Make of that what you
I
will.
think, guys, that goes back to the whole deal that once the government learns that Sasquatch is in an area, they're actually going to keep an eye on them.
Yeah, and there has to be a reason for that. And
Oh,
it's
yes.
it's not that that they're just innocent creatures running around or whatever you want to call it.
That's my feelings on it exactly. Guest we had on last.
I mean, the two encounters I have had with military, while out in the woods, doing our thing, it hasn't been bad. Just both of them have been really weird.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, in the awakening, I bring up the FBI because the FBI is very similar. I've had the FBI at my door before. They ask questions. They want to come in and be your friend, but I just don't get involved in it.
I'm waiting for that day, Ricky, we have them knocking on our door, all the crazy stuff we talk about.
I think we all do.
Hey, I'll invite.
I mean, I joke about it, but when that helicopter started buzzing the treetops down there,
got a little paranoid.
Did I get somebody's attention?
Yeah, they have a lot of equipment which you know nothing of,
Yep.
and they can surveil you to the minuscule amount. They know what you're saying. They know what you're doing.
Well, we have satellites that can.
See a penny laying.
We
on
have
the
satellites that
ground,
can read newspapers in downtown Moscow.
Yeah.
Over somebody's shoulder. So.
Well, I'll tell you that I've got a family member that was high up in the military back in the early '90s, and we had stuff back then. Of course, he still don't talk about a lot of it, but like talking about our satellites and our imagery, being able to see. I mean, back in the early '90s, we had satellites. You could read a VIN number on a car. I mean.
Yeah, so
just imagine within the the last 30 years how much more that's advanced. I mean, I'm sure we've got X-ray technology that we can see it and they can look in our houses from the sky. I mean,
I'm sure, yes. So look
at the drone and robot technology, how far it's come.
Oh, all of it.
And that's just what we know of. I mean, that's just what we know of. I mean, like Richard was saying, there are things I'm sure our government has that we can't even wrap our minds around. I've heard a lot of talk about time travel here recently. I mean, apparently our government, which they have. You can find it on YouTube. I mean, they have done it with with protons and stuff like that. But supposedly, they had a successful. They time traveled. Well, I wouldn't even call it time travel, but transported through space or air or whatever you want to call it, a group of soldiers.
Yeah, I've heard that myself.
Well, look at the Philadelphia experiment.
Mm-hmm.
That Philadelphia experiment was in what, the 60s?
Mm-hmm.
That
And that was a freaking battleship.
you come back. You come back to the whole deal with the government and Sasquatch, though. I think that these creatures, and I think the government knows that these creatures actually possess an ability that the government cannot control.
No, that's my viewpoint too, and I think that's their interest in it.
That Richard, that's my whole, and that I've said this.
Well, it goes back to one of my favorite quotes.
Go ahead, Barry.
One of my favorite quotes, Arthur C. Clarke. Any technology significantly more advanced than what is known would be indistinguishable from magic.
That's a good quote.
100%.
But that's basically it, guys. My whole feeling on
What's
this.
that?
I said that's basically it. My whole feeling on this on Sasquatch and the government. Whether it's if this was just a big dumb ape out here running around in the woods, why would the government want to keep it from the people other than the fact that they're afraid they're going to lose money? The timber companies are going to lose money. The camping industry, the fishing industry, all the big industries are going to lose money because if they came out.
That's what we talk about a lot.
You can work around all that.
I almost believe it's one of those situations that just like UFOs and all this, we're taught that it's not supposed to exist. As growing up, we're taught to think certain ways, we're taught to know certain things, and that's it. And if it goes against that, UFOs, for example, for all these years we've been told UFOs don't exist, and now look what's happening. All this information's coming out about UFOs existing. I mean, I almost believe it's kind of the same situation. I mean.
Yeah, but it's to the fact that these creatures, I do believe, possess an ability that our government cannot control. They don't know what it is. They cannot control it, and our government is not going to admit that they're out there because of that reason.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to kind of in the books. It's the awakening. It's people are awakening to the fact that there's a lot more going on than they're led on to believe by the government and the media. That's just that is not reality. Reality is much different than you're given.
Well, the only thing I was going to say about this whole release of UFO information, they haven't really told us anything we didn't already know.
Well, of course they're not going to. I mean,
more or less, all they said is, "Yep,
they're just
they're
acknowledging
real."
They're just acknowledging what we already knew.
Yeah, if you're observant, you did know it before.
I mean, that's all it is. He's like, "Yep, it's real."
Yeah, I've seen them myself. So, I mean, I know they're real, but a lot of people don't. If you sit outside like you guys, I know you spend a lot of time under the stars. Just look up at the stars. You see things up there all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's
no secret. I've had two
I have seen things that by definition.
Yeah, I've seen two things.
By definition, it was unidentified by me anyway.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Blake and I had an encounter back. What was that? Blake last year before last.
last year.
Yeah, we actually saw this thing, Richard, that we couldn't explain. It was about maybe 200 feet up in the air. Lights on this job, no sound whatsoever. Nothing, no sound whatsoever. Uh, it wasn't really what you would say doing any type of specific maneuvers other than it came over us, uh, went off into the distance, but we encountered this thing maybe for 10, 15 minutes, but no sound. That's what got me about it. There was no sound whatsoever.
Yeah, as close as it was to us. I mean, I can't say that it was a alien craft. It was definitely a UFO, but what I know, it had no. I mean, had no sound whatsoever.
Yeah.
They are nothing on a normal daily basis in normally. Not saying our government don't possess something that that's I'm sure they do, but it wasn't a normal plane. It wasn't a normal helicopter. It wasn't a drone. It was way too big to be a drone. If it was a drone, you just still heard it.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't do any of no weird
Yeah, exactly like Blake said.
It didn't do no weird maneuvers or take off super fast. I mean, it just kind of like did its thing and just kind of went off in the distance and disappeared. And that's how my other UFO encounter happened. I seen 3 red balls. It was 4th of July. We were over at a school here close to our fairgrounds where they show fireworks. And we don't normally go to the fairgrounds because it's hard to get in and out of. So we'll go to the school. Well, there's a mountain range right behind us of where you're at the school. And it's right before dark. We're all looking over here and just kind of happened to look behind us. And there were 3 lights come out of the mountains. And it wasn't flares. They come out of the mountains, go straight up, and then they come overhead. And they're all there's just 3 red balls of light.
You got some comments, Ricky.
With some size to it. Perfectly spaced. They just kind of go out and just disappear. I don't know what it was. I mean, they weren't drones. They weren't, because then again, they were only 200 foot above me or above us. They were a bunch of people that seen it. I don't know what it was.
Yeah. Like I say, it's common. That's not uncommon to experience that. Mm-hmm. It's if you're outside, I mean, people in this.
A lot of people that don't see these things don't pay attention.
Correct, and they live in the city, and it's all lit up, and they live in a different planet. Really,
most people never look up.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah, you get so many people that can't exist. Do you ever just look in the sky?
They don't even know it's there. Probably, I don't.
Unless you're a squirrel hunter or.
I missed whatever.
I was going to say, unless you're a squirrel hunter, or you're like me and trying not to walk under a tree that's got a bobcat in it, people just don't look up.
Yeah.
Well, and in that same.
Did you see the comments there, Ricky?
Yeah, I read them here.
So many people are like, there's no way they can exist. How they stay hidden? Those people had never been to the woods. Okay, you go to north. You go 30 miles from where we live, and just don't know where you're going, and you just walk in the woods. You're not coming back out ever. I mean, you could walk for days and never find a house or another human or. I mean, it's the abundance of land.
Yeah. Yeah, there's places here, too, where you
That's why I told somebody about the helicopter. Somebody suggested there was a manhunt going on. I was like, well, if he's down here in these woods, he's going to do one of 2 things. He's going to hide real well for a long time if he knows what he's doing. If he don't know what he's doing, he's going to hide even better for an even longer time. Because he ain't coming out. And he probably wouldn't be the first person that didn't come out of them woods.
It's even like we live close to Atlanta. People think of Atlanta as a big city, and it is a big city. But I don't know if any of you have ever flown over Atlanta. I mean, I never personally have, but this is what I've been told. When you're flying into Atlanta, you don't even see the city.
I don't know. It's like flying into a forest.
It looks like
It
a forest,
is.
and that's a big
I've
city.
heard that.
You know, you
Right. It's so
you get
forested
out in
around
the,
Atlanta. It is.
yeah.
Hey, man, I flew in and out of uh, Jackson Hartfield quite a few times, and believe me, that it will actually amaze you when you come in for a landing in Hartford Jackson that you don't see anything but woods. I mean, it's amazing. And as Blake said, the city of Atlanta is
I
huge.
tell people all the time. Yeah. I tell people all the time, you don't realize how great the great outdoors really is.
Yeah, it is huge, isn't it?
People just don't understand how big it is.
No, they don't. And
I
Well,
live
how much
14 miles from the nearest town, and that town's got a population of 6 to 8,000.
and how much land is actually unpopulated? We have so much land that does not have a single soul living on it.
you're correct. Yeah.
You know, yes, our cities and places that are already established are becoming overpopulated because everybody's in a small area. But we still have so much forest and just so much land that nobody ever goes on.
Yeah. I know I've walked in places where no other human being has walked before. You know? Why would anybody go there?
Yeah.
I say all the time, there's hollers down here. I bet there hadn't been a human being in at least 50 years, if
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah, not saying they've never been a human being on it at some point, but I mean, they not in a long time
You're
because nobody
right.
has a reason to go there. First of all, I mean,
Yeah, I'm the only stupid one that'll go some places, you know.
Richard, you've got a comment here from Filmer of Bobcats out of Texas. Richard, have you ever had actual conversations with the Sob people, mind speak, or words?
With the what now? Give that to me again.
Richard is buffering
Basically,
on
have
my
you
end
ever
right
had
now.
conversations? Have you ever had conversations with Sasquatch people with through mind speak or words?
Absolutely. Yes. You want me to elaborate on that?
yeah,
Go ahead.
Well, yeah, they again are trying to be helpful to the human race. They are not trying to be antagonistic in any way that I can perceive. They have told me that there are certain things that the human race need to fix, or that I'm aware that they can fix it if we can't fix it. That's the message I've gotten. They may not have atomic weapons or any of that kind of stuff, but they got the mind, and the mind can be
well,
way more powerful.
that's something that the Native Americans used to. You know, that goes back to the Native Americans. I mean, that's one thing that that they said is, they are the seer of the land. They take care of the land. I mean, that pretty much.
Yes, and we've had problems with, our farming industry and stuff, which is pouring all these chemicals and stuff on the land, and it's starting to interfere with the natural, I mean, I'm not a big climate change person or anything, but when you start messing with all of life and the symbiotic relationship that exists between one thing and another, things get out of whack.
Well,
And
for example, the lake where I had my personal sighting in the lake that we were talking about earlier. You know, this land, I mean, it for many, many years, yes, it had a few houses around it, or, you know, not around it, but pretty close to the cemetery within 3 or 4 miles. But now you go down there, and it's just every time we go down there, they're cutting down trees, cut down trees, cut down
I
trees.
see, I
You
see.
know, now I don't even feel like, you know, I feel like this family that was down there at one point is not there no more. I mean, we haven't really had anything happen in a long time down there. I mean, it's just it's impeding in their land.
Exactly. And that's, if you want to call it mind speak, whatever it is. Yes, they're concerned about that. And they've given me one plant. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. I had never heard of it. It's called canaf. Have you ever heard of canaf?
I personally have not.
No.
It's very similar to industrial hemp. It has nothing to do with marijuana. It's not a drug plant, but it grows extremely fast and it gets very big, and it's capable of replacing the forest industry. But of course, there are corporations that wouldn't want that to happen, so it's been suppressed.
Yeah. And same when you're talking about hemp. I mean, you know, hemp's the same way. It could replace so much stuff.
They are very similar. And the government has a lot of regulations on hemp, and there's no regulations on canaf because it has no drug liability associated with it, even to a minor degree.
Yeah.
It has no THC in it, but it's a very similar plant. And I got seeds for that plant, and I grew those plants, and they grow like crazy. Those seeds were basically gifted to me from the Sasquatch, you know, and I still have some. I don't know where they are right at the moment, but I didn't plant them all. I still have a few. And there's also research going on that plant now, and it supposedly is a major solution to a lot of our problems as far as restoring the soil. I don't want to get too technical here or anything, but, you know, it can pull carbon from the air and put it back into soil. All these crazy people that are talking about, you know, climate change and all that, it could be carbon does not have to be in the air. It can be pulled back into the ground. And then, like you say, hemp will do the same thing. So there are answers to a lot of these things, and the Sasquatch are trying to keep
Guide us in that direction.
Yeah, keep their universe, if you want to call it that, from being destroyed by mankind, because we can do it. You know, I mean, people can. I mean, you go down the wrong path, and you know, goodness, you can really be very destructive. And,
oh yeah, humans can destroy everything.
Yeah, so that's the message. If you want, you know, when you say, has there been mind speak? Absolutely. There's been mind speak in the regard to, you know, wake up, the human race. You know, the Sasquatch have been one with the land, like the Indians, like you said, like Native Americans. The Native Americans had a very close relationship with the Sasquatch. The shaman visited them and brought back knowledge all the time about keeping one with the earth and thanking the animals, and you know, like the dog kissing you. You know, that's all part of the game. You know, you can't rule one thing out, even if it's a bug, you know, because it's got natural enemies. one thing eats the bug, and if you take away the bug, then you take away their food supply and the whole game. So you got to be careful when you're messing with Mother Nature, and that's Sasquatch philosophy. That's Sasquatch knowledge. They do not cause destruction to life. They help life, and they're trying to help us. And I don't know if that's why the government's so concerned about it. It seems to me that that's part of it. They have ulterior motives. They haven't told me anything about the army or anything like that, so I have no idea in regards to that. But, they don't go into that. They're just trying to, like I say, trying to deliver the message that use intuitive thinking, use common sense, because if you violate those little laws, we're going to end up in trouble. And I don't think anybody can deny at this point in time the world's in a little bit of trouble.
Yep.
This whole virus, the last interview I had, I got into the virus thing and they didn't want to talk about that. But believe me, it's all part of the game. That damn virus was created by the government, created by certain entities, and it had a purpose. And
well, it totally, whether your view on the virus or not, it completely changed our way of life for the year and a half it's been going on. I mean, the way everything runs, I mean, it hindered everything.
Yeah, and it's still going on.
Yeah.
So I pretty much ignore it. And the Sasquatch don't have any. They don't have any worries about the damn virus. They don't get viruses like that. So I've been asked that question so many times. Do the Sasquatch get the virus? No, they don't get the virus. Their immune system is so advanced that any virus is just wiped out when it comes in to do anything to their system. They eat all natural stuff. I mean,
well, as far as the virus is concerned, I'm like you, Richard. As far as the virus is concerned, it was created. It was let loose on not just the American people or the Chinese people, but the people all across the world.
You're right.
And it was let loose in my opinion, to thin out the population.
Well, there was certainly ulterior motives. What they are, you probably haven't even seen the outcome of it yet. I'm afraid we're going to see something a lot more dramatic.
It's more than that. It was total disruption.
And it did. I do events. I go to. I sell books and stuff, and all my events were canceled for well over. I did not do one event in 2020 after that thing.
So many people think the virus just kind of made it here and spread as fast as it did. I hate to tell everybody, but COVID's been here since November 2019. I mean, if people don't, if you don't realize that, then you need to rethink some things. I mean, it didn't just show up here overnight.
No,
they just weren't some people got it on a cruise ship and all of a sudden we have millions of people end up with the virus. No. I know a lot of people at the end of 2019 that got really sick and had no explanation for it, and they had every single symptom of COVID.
I see. Yeah.
Well, I had it back in, or I do believe I had it back in March of 2020. Actually, February of 2020. I took sick, stayed sick for over 2 weeks. I was sick, couldn't even get off the couch.
Oh boy.
And I actually thought I was dying with it. And this actually hits home to me because I have a brother-in-law, or had a brother-in-law, Mr. Ricky Hughes, who worked for the federal government, worked federal forestry for nearly 50 years, and passed away with this stuff January the 1st of 2021.
Well, hang on there, Ricky.
Sorry to hear that.
Hang on there. I know they labeled that as a COVID death, but he had already gotten better.
Well, yeah,
he was getting ready to come home.
Yeah, he was actually, Richard, he was getting ready to come home. They had told him the day before that they were going to send him home the next day. The next morning, his blood pressure dropped. He went into a seizure, and they never could pull him out of it.
So whether if that was a side effect of having COVID, of permanent damage type situation, but no, COVID did not directly kill him.
I see.
But of course, it got labeled as a COVID death.
Right.
Yeah, but during that whole period of time, that was a. I hate getting into some of this, but it was a major impetus for that to be labeled so financially.
Yep. That's They're more to the COVID situation than what the media labels.
Yes. So, yeah, we're in a game of. I'll accept the help from the Sasquatch. You see what I mean? I'm not turning down any help.
Seems to be the best one to listen to right about now, don't it?
And people think I'm crazy, so that's just the way it is. I don't really care. I don't care.
Well, my grandfather Richard was full-blooded Cherokee. Grew up in North Carolina. He viewed the Sasquatch as big keepers of the mountain, as he called it.
Cool. That's the stories I've heard too.
And they had interactions with him. His family members had interactions with him, and I was always taught to revere Sasquatch. I was taught from a young age that these creatures existed. Really never had a lot of experience with them until 1981. I saw my first one. It was young juvenile. Well, I said young juvenile. Juvenile, or I'd say it was. It was probably, like I told Blake, an M 6.5, 7 foot tall, weighed about 350, 400 pounds. And of course, we saw it on the creek that morning. There was a little slough run out. Little Squtchen Creek where it fed into Talking Rock Creek, and it was like a little V-shaped sandbar that came out, and it was standing on this end of this sandbar, crouched over when we came down around the curve in the creek, and I saw this thing crouched over. And what really got me when I first saw it, I thought it was a bear, but then I thought, no, this thing is crouched like a man crouched over.
Mm-hmm.
And it had its paws down in the water, its hands, and when it raised up, that's the first thing I noticed was the hands. They're probably about twice the size of mine. But it was a human-looking hand, like 5 fingers or 4 fingers and a thumb.
Mm-hmm.
All except it was covered in hair down to the second knuckle. And this thing saw us. Kind of threw its head back, winded us, turned, and went right straight back into the woods about 40 yards behind it, and it was gone. We never saw it again. But we got the raft pulled over to the side of the creek, got out and walked back up there where I saw it at, and they were a stack of these, what we call, they call them freshwater clams around here, mussels, what it was.
Mm-hmm.
But they were a stack of those up about that high. And, the only reason I have that this thing was eating those mussels.
Mm-hmm. I've seen them do that with fish, too. They will stack the fish up.
But that was my first encounter with Sasquatch. Of course, as a young kid, I had saw it I had saw the Patterson Gimlin film where they had filmed Patty. You know, and I think I was like 8, 9 years old when that film broke.
Ricky,
Yeah.
Barry, he's having problems. But he wrote in a private chat. He said, "Can you ask Richard if they ever told him their origin?"
No. Nope.
Can you hear Barry?
Yeah, I can hear you right now.
Yeah, no, not at all. I have no idea.
I asked Richard.
Yeah, I can hear you right now. Already.
Maybe that'll come. I hope it does. You know, I'd like to know. I'm curious, but no.
Well, everybody already knows my theories on their origin, so I was just curious.
Yeah.
Either
Well, guys,
confirm or deny.
we're at an hour and 20. You gonna go ahead and cut it, Ricky?
Yeah, Richard, thank you, buddy, for coming on tonight. Hey, buddy, I'd like to have you back on. I'm putting together a roundtable discussion. I'm going to invite 6 people. Richard, Barry, I'd like to invite y'all back for it. We're going to have it here in a couple of weeks. I'll send you the date on it. Of course, it'll be on Wednesday night at 10. And Richard,
Yeah.
I hope you could attend.
As long as I'm not out of town, I can. Yes.
Okay.
And I just noticed my name is Riochard.
I'm sorry, buddy. I got in a hurry of doing that.
Yeah, that's my alias. That's my Sasquatch given name, Riochard.
Sorry about that.
Can you tell him good night, Clifford?
Okay, yeah. So thanks for having me. I enjoyed it. And like I say, if anybody wants any of my books or anything, they can visit either Amazon and type in my name in the search, and it's not Riochard, it's Richard. Richard Rensberry into the search, and I will come up. Or you can go to my website, conversationswithsasquatch.com, and all my books are in my store, as well as some other things. So, and yeah, a roundtable sounds great. I liked having Barry here. I included in. It made it interesting because I am interested in other people's perspective for sure, and he's different than I am, but you know he has a whole different approach to the whole thing. So I have not.
Just about everybody that we talk to, you know, everybody has, you know, very similar but different types of views, and that's one thing I love about doing this show is we get to talk to so many different people, and you know, like you were saying earlier, you can't discredit nobody. Like no matter what the circumstance. Well, let me back up. Yes, there are some people there. You can just tell some people that are just dishonest. Don't get me wrong. I say this all the time. You can take 100 reports, throw 30 or 40 of them out in the trash. You know, they're people looking for attention, whatever, misidentification, whatever. But you know, then you have your honest 60 or 70 people. I mean. And those are the ones. No matter what they said happened, most people were just telling what they had happened to them.
Yeah, I have an interview on Monday with a lady that had an experience here in my neighborhood, so I'm very interested in meeting with her. And again, at a lake, you know, I find that to be a very common thread many times, or a creek, you know,
a body of water.
Yep. So, and it was Mac Lake, which is not too far from here. So maybe that will show up on my website as well. I asked her already if she was willing to be interviewed and have it published. So we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, guys, I'm going to close her out. Richard, again, thank you very much for coming on the show tonight. And everyone,
Hey,
remember.
Ricky, leave Barry backstage.
Huh?
Leave Barry backstage when we get off here. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Barry, see you, buddy.
No, leave. What are you doing?
He disconnected.
Oh, okay.
Again, everyone, Mr. Richard Rensberry, author of Conversations with Sasquatch. His latest book, The Awakening. Please, everyone, go on Amazon, check it out. Show Richard some love. Buy those books and read up on what he's got going on. Very, very interesting books from what I've seen. Blake, you want to close her out, bud?
Thank you, Richard.
Again, Richard, sorry, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah,
It was enjoyment having you on the show, buddy.
yeah.
Anytime you want to come back on.
Okay, yeah. I have to tell you, I had a little bit of a struggle. My browser didn't accept your whatever platform you're on. I had to go get Google Chrome just to get on here. I have Safari. I have Apple computer, and it wouldn't align with your.
Oh, with StreamYard, okay.
Yeah, yes, that's exactly what it told me.
Right.
It said, no, you can't get on here. You're not. This browser is not acceptable. But I had enough time, so I did that. So now I'm set up. Next time I won't have such a problem.
All right. Well, like I say, we're planning on doing the round table here in a couple of weeks. I'll get the date back to you on that.
Okay,
And
very good.
we got a few guests that we're going to invite on. Mr. Richard Stewart Taylor from Texas. I don't know if you know Richard or not. He's got a couple of books out, and Richard's a real good guy. Of course, our guest from last week, Carter. We're going to have him back on the round table with us. And I'm just, I'd like to see where everybody's view is on Sasquatch and what they think these creatures really are.
Okay, very good. Thanks. I'm like I say, if I'm in town, no problem.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank
Good night,
you,
everybody. Thank everybody for viewing tonight. All the comments. I'm sorry we didn't get time to read your comments. And before we go, I just wanted to mention William King, good friend of mine, lives next to me. He and I had a little outing last Sunday night. Matter of fact, he just walked in. Hey, bud.
I'm trying to figure out.
But I think I've actually made a believer out of him. But guys, good night, everybody. God bless everybody. See you next time.
Yep. Bye-bye.